the last pharaoh of ancient Egypt, Cleopatra VII. Her name is remembered not merely as a royal title, but as a symbol of power that transcended eras, of passionate love, and of a tragic destiny. We often remember her only as a woman of dazzling beauty, who captivated the hearts of men. But Cleopatra was not simply a beauty. She was a woman of sharp intellect and exceptional political acumen, a truly unique figure who was far ahead of her time. What kind of tumultuous life did she live? Like the breath of the Nile itself, her dynamic life has much to tell us. Today, we will trace the short but intense journey of Cleopatra's life, and together discover the profound message she left for us. Within her choices, struggles, and moments of despair, we may perhaps catch a reflection of our own lives. At this very moment, feel the mysterious breath of the Nile, the ancient river of Egypt. You may even fall into the illusion that you hear the voice of Cleopatra herself. In 69 BCE, in the Palace of Alexandria, the center of Mediterranean trade and a city of splendid civilization, a girl was born. She was Cleopatra VII, the last descendant of the Ptolemaic dynasty, a fated princess who inherited Egypt's long history and sacred traditions. Yet her childhood was by no means peaceful or smooth. The royal household was tainted by endless power struggles and shadows of betrayal, and she grew up in an unstable environment, where the threat of death could appear at any moment. Such conditions instilled in young Cleopatra a cold sense of reality, for survival and an exceptional ability to cope with crises. Cleopatra possessed extraordinary talents beyond mere beauty. She could astonishingly speak 9 languages fluently, and acquired a wide breadth of the greatest knowledge of her time, including Greek philosophy, mathematics, and astronomy. In particular, she showed outstanding ability in managing national finances and negotiating international relations, demonstrating the insight to accurately diagnose Egypt's crises and find solutions. She realized early the importance of knowledge, and armed herself through it. At the age of 18, when her father, Ptolemy XII, died, Cleopatra ascended the throne as co-ruler with her younger brother Ptolemy XIII. However, her young brother and the court factions manipulating him feared Cleopatra's strong leadership and constantly kept her in check. Eventually, she was caught in political intrigue, expelled from the palace, and forced into exile in Syria. Even in the face of such a desperate crisis, Cleopatra never despaired or gave up. In exile, she meticulously vowed revenge, and planned to borrow the immense power of Rome, which then dominated the Mediterranean. At this time, she left behind a saying that would be remembered throughout history. I do not wait for fate. I create fate. As this phrase suggests, she boldly took the first steps to carve out her own destiny and shape Egypt's future with her own hands. From this moment, her steel-like will and indomitable spirit began to shine. During Cleopatra's exile, an extraordinary opportunity arose. Julius Caesar, Rome's greatest general and ruler, arrived in Alexandria to intervene in the royal civil war. Cleopatra did not miss this chance. She intended to meet Caesar directly, assert her legitimacy, and seek his help to regain her lost throne. However, with the palace already under her brother's control, it was nearly impossible to approach Caesar by ordinary means. At this moment, she devised an unimaginably bold and ingenious method. She had herself wrapped in a carpet and delivered to Caesar like a gift. Emerging from the carpet, Cleopatra impressed Caesar not only with her daring boldness but also with her intellectual charm. This fateful meeting was more than just the connection of two individuals. It became a massive turning point that completely reshaped the destinies of ancient Egypt, the Roman Empire, and the two of them personally. With Caesar's strong support and military assistance, Cleopatra at last reclaimed the Egyptian throne. Through her alliance with Caesar, she sought to firmly safeguard Egypt's independence and prosperity. By leveraging Rome's power, she subdued all domestic and foreign enemies and dedicated herself to rebuilding Egypt's devastated economy. She was not a mere puppet queen, but the true guardian and restorer of Egypt. Cleopatra bore a son, Caesarion, with Caesar, symbolically strengthening the alliance between Egypt and Rome. Cleopatra was never just a lover. She was a brilliant politician who made strategic and political choices for Egypt's future. She expressed it this way: "Love may serve as a means to power, but power can never serve as a means to love." In her life, love was always closely tied to the welfare of the state and political purpose, showing how thoroughly realistic she was. In 44 BCE, Rome was struck by immense shock. The great leader Julius Caesar was assassinated, and the fates of Cleopatra and Egypt were once again swept away by a great tide. After Caesar's death, Rome plunged into civil war. And amidst this turmoil, Cleopatra had to find a new alliance to protect Egypt's independence and prosperity. It was then that her gaze fell upon another powerful Roman figure, Marcus Antonius. Antony had been Caesar's most loyal subordinate, and was one of Rome's de facto rulers at the time. Cleopatra invited him to Tarsus in Asia Minor, showcasing her exceptional diplomacy and charm. amid the luxurious and splendid banquets. And through Cleopatra's profound intellect and eloquence, Antony became completely captivated by her. He was overwhelmed by the commanding presence of the Egyptian queen. The two fell into a passionate and fiery love. And together they had 3 children. Through her relationship with Antony, Cleopatra sought to expand Egypt's influence over Rome's eastern territories, and to further consolidate her nation's prosperity. She generously provided Antony with Egypt's abundant resources and military power, deeply involving herself in Roman politics. Her goal went beyond love; it was Egypt's eternal independence. Yet their relationship ignited enormous controversy and condemnation within the Roman Republic. Romans regarded Cleopatra as an exotic temptress threatening Rome's traditions and morals, and they fiercely criticized Antony for neglecting Rome in his infatuation with the Egyptian queen. Nevertheless, Cleopatra remained utterly unshaken by these accusations and hostile gazes. To her critics, she responded boldly, "True strength lies within. It comes from the courage not to be swayed by the gaze of others." She stood firm in her choices and convictions, undeterred by outside criticism. Her life exemplified the true leader who walked her own path, unaffected by external judgment. Ultimately, the relationship between Antony and Cleopatra deepened. Their unavoidable conflict with another powerful Roman leader, Octavian. Octavian cunningly incited the masses, enraging Roman citizens by claiming Antony had sold his soul to Cleopatra. Finally, in 31 BCE, a massive naval battle to decide the fate of Roman supremacy took place at Actium in Greece. Cleopatra directly led the Egyptian fleet and fought alongside Antony. Though she bravely commanded on the battlefield, the tide gradually turned against them, favoring Octavian. Eventually, the Egyptian fleet suffered devastating losses. Assessing the situation with cold judgment, Cleopatra led the remaining fleet in a sudden retreat from the battle. Antony followed her in flight, and the Battle of Actium ended in an overwhelming victory for the Roman forces and a fatal defeat for the Cleopatra-Antony alliance. This decisive defeat inflicted irreparable damage on Cleopatra and Antony. Returning to Egypt, the two could not escape Octavian's relentless pursuit, eventually finding themselves in a desperate situation, stripped of everything. In despair and defeat, Antony chose a tragic end, taking his own life rather than face the humiliation of capture by Octavian. His death brought Cleopatra immeasurable grief and agony. Though engulfed in despair after losing her beloved Antony, Cleopatra never lost her dignity as pharaoh. She could not tolerate the disgrace of being captured. by Octavian and paraded in Rome's triumph. Until the very end, she sought to preserve the majesty of Pharaoh and the glory of Egypt. She revealed her resolute determination in these words: "Death is not the end, but merely another beginning. True defeat is to give up." Even in the depths of despair, she sought a painful yet resolute way to preserve her final dignity. Her choice became the last resistance of Egypt's final pharaoh, and the prelude to a tragic ending that would remain an eternal legend. In August of 30 BCE, Octavian's Roman army entered Alexandria, the capital of Egypt. Cleopatra was captured and brought before Octavian. But she never lost her composure or cold calculation. Until the very last moment. She tried to persuade Octavian with her wisdom and charm. But his decision was firm, already assured of Rome's victory. Realizing her fate was to be humiliated as a captive paraded in Rome's triumph, Cleopatra made a tragic resolution. According to legend, she allowed herself to be bitten by the sacred symbol of Egyptian royalty, the cobra. The venom of the cobra signified a sacred and dignified death of the Egyptian royal family. Rather than become Rome's slave, she ended her life in the most noble and dignified manner as Egypt's final pharaoh. She was only 39 years old. Her death marked the end of Egypt's Ptolemaic dynasty and symbolized the dawn of a new era of the Roman Empire. Though Cleopatra could not ultimately preserve Egypt's full independence against Rome's overwhelming power, her short yet intense life inspired countless artists, writers, and historians of later generations. She was a great woman who sought to carve out her destiny with extraordinary intellect, remarkable diplomacy, and indomitable will. She wielded power for the sake of her nation's welfare, yet also experienced the passion of true love, making her deeply human. Though her final words are not recorded, perhaps the most powerful message that permeates her entire life is this: the greatest victory is to conquer oneself. Cleopatra was more than a figure of history. She was a woman who actively steered her own life, lived as fiercely as fire, and remains forever in our memory as an eternal legend. Cleopatra's turbulent life still poses many questions and delivers deep resonance to us today. How much are we truly choosing and leading our own lives? And do we have the courage to firmly uphold our convictions, even in the face of countless adversities? Though she met a tragic end, her story still conveys a powerful and vivid message to us, even after thousands of years. Amidst the flow of time, like the Nile River, in what direction is your life flowing? Right now, how deeply are you truly loving and shaping your own life?